Okay, let's carry on. So we are now on question, yes, 161. So 161, let's go. So let's look at this information. We're moving into the realms of, again, we're back in the realm of budgets again. And when I mean budgets, I mean fixed and flexed and variances. So let's take these. A flexible budget is very much where you will set a fixed budget and then you recognize that activity changes. So you might set a fixed budget thinking you'll do 10,000, but you're also aware of what would happen at 12 and 13 and 14, and just so you can look across the spectrum. So it's almost like a forecast, but you're changing activity. You're creating budgets of several activities so you can sort of understand what's going on. So a flexible budget fundamentally is designed to change as the volume of activity changes. So the answer here is A, in terms of what a flexible budget is, right? Yeah. So it's very much about the volume of the activity. So the answer there is A. Here, then they give you, they ask you to apply that a little here. So you have this this budget that will change with volume. But again, in order to work out to see the situation, basically telling us to say what's happening at 120 units. Well, if you're believing that you're going to get 200,000 from 100 units, that means you're selling, technically you believe you'll sell each unit for 2,000. So if you, by the time you, so basically each unit is at 2,000, the fixed cost won't change. The variable units are 80,000 divided by 100 units, so that's 800 pounds in terms of a cost per unit. So let's just apply these figures to this activity ultimately, right? So this will end up being 240,000. Fixed costs will remain the same at 100,000, and your variable cost will become 96,000 because that's 800 times 120. So the new surplus will be the 240 minus the 196. 240 minus the 196, which brings us into the realm of 44,000. Right? And that's how you deal with this. The question is, we're looking at activity. It's about activity. Okay, great. And then we look at 163. Fixed budgets take changes in activity level into account. No, they don't. The fixed don't. The fixed are the original, what you started with, and they're based on budgeted production. So fixed budgets are prepared based on budgeted production and sales volumes. It's very much about that, what's going on at that point in time. At that, what you set at the original date, there's no movement. With fixed budgets, a problem arises because actual performance is compared with a budget from a different output level. Exactly. So you might have set a budget of 1 million items, but actually you only sold 2,000 items. So your fixed budget is based on 1 million items. If we really want to do variance analysis, we cannot be comparing the input costs that have gone into making 200 with the input costs that would have been expected of 1 million items. So we need to therefore change this or flex it to arrive at something comparable as to what the standard inputs would have been. So the answer here is C. Okay, great. And then 164, what is a budget that is updated to reflect actual output and activity levels? And we've just been talking about that. That's very much a flexible budget. Cool. Now 165 takes us into this realm of variances. I'm just going to go to a blank page to deal with. So I'm sure you've tried this and done the question. So it's important that you do that before you pause, make sure you try it, because not that I'm not doing it, I'm talking some theory, but I tend to, I am assuming you've at least had a go. So again, with our variances, with our volume variance, our focus is very much on just the volume. Right, the volume. And remember, the thing about sales variances really ultimately is that we're really talking about a variance in profit. I think that's the key issue here. It's a variance in profit. A variance in profit, ultimately. So, because it's a variance in profit, because that's ultimately what this is about. It's not actually about, I mean, it is sales minus cost of sales and blah, 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 to get the margins or contribution or profit. It's about a variance in profit. So, in terms of volume, you expected, if you look at the question, it says that you expected to sell, it says that you expected to sell 500 telephones, and you have sold 550. Now, in terms, as far as our profits are concerned, the changes in our profit is what we're really concerned due to volume. That's the key issue. What's the change in profit? Well, when I say what's the change in profit, yes, what's the change in profit due to? And it tells us that you were going to make a standard profit of 7,000, which would have been 14 if you think about it, 7 per unit. So you're going to make a standard profit of 7,000 over 500 units of telephones, so that standard profit would have been 14. It's all about profit ultimately. That's what that variance is about when we change the price. So that's 14. That's the key issue here. This could have been contribution, this could have been whatever. Key point is find whatever that contribution is per unit, or that profit is per unit, and it's 14. So we now have this movement of 50, which is favorable. 50 favorable. You sold an extra 50 phones. So times profit, because that's a standard profit. We keep it at standard because we're just focused on volume. We will come to look at price in a second, and so therefore we have 7,500 favorable. Right, that's what we have, 7,500 favorable. Now, oh, sorry, forgive me. What is 5 times 14? Oh, you can't add up. 50 times 14 is 700. Yes. So that's 700 favorable. That's what's going on here. 15 times 40, 70, 700 favorable. In terms of the pricing variance, you see, the focus is we just want to see what's the change in price as a result. That's the price variance. I mean, you could look at it from a profit point of view as well. I mean, they are saying the same thing. If I look here just from a pricing point of view, I'm selling each of the agreement is I'm going to sell each of these for 150. It's movements I'm interested in, by the way. I'm going to sell each of these for 150. I have 500 units, and then I sell 550 units. But again, the question here is, how much did I sell this thing for? Well, it says that you sold them 81,400, and you sold 550 units. That means you sold each of them for 148 pounds. So you actually dropped your price by £2 right across everything. So you had an adverse variance of £2, a fall in £2 times all the units, which is an adverse variance of 1,100 and 1,100. So what am I saying? That we have a sales price variance, an adverse sales price variance, which is adverse, of 1,100, and we have a sales volume which is favorable of 700, which gives us the answer B. So focus on, when you're looking at volume, just look at the volume. This is standard across all variance analysis. Don't bring in the keep the profit standard. It's the profit when we're looking at the volume variance. But with price, you're interested just in that change in price across everything, across the entire spectrum. Okay, great stuff. So that's question 100, and that's question 165, and we'll carry on in the next set of videos.